People ask me all the time how I feel about Donald Trump, and I gotta say I'm not a fan. He's a little nuts. But if you lined up 45 random dudes in a room, some of them would be crazy, and he is by far not our craziest president ever. For example, Lyndon B. Johnson was obsessed with his dick. Lyndon was so impressed with his Johnson, he named it Jumbo, and it was clearly his prized possession. If you think he only used it on Miss Johnson, you'd be sorely mistaken. So his White House employees called the secretary pool Lyndon's harem, and any secretary who would sleep with him, he then promoted to private secretary, and then after he was done with the affair, he would just demote them back to a regular secretary. Now, if you think that's the worst that it's gonna get, no, it's gonna get worse. On one occasion, reporters asked Lyndon Johnson why America got involved in the Vietnam War, and unable to come up with an answer apparently, he whipped out his Jumbo and said, "Here's why." So he pretty much showed his dick to all those reporters. Number 2, Andrew Jackson loved to kill people. Not only was Andrew Jackson a decorated war hero in general, he also participated in over 100 duels. In one of these duels against Charles Dickinson, Andy J., probably defending his wife's honor, stood back to back with Charles Dickinson, walked 10 paces, turned and waited. He knew that Charles was a much better shot than him, so his only chance of killing Charles was to stand still, let Charles shoot at him, and then steady his aim and shoot at Charles. So when he turned, he stood there and waited. Charles shot immediately, striking Andrew Jackson an inch from his heart. Andrew Jackson didn't even fall to the ground. He touched where he was shot, looked at the blood on his hand, and then slowly raised his gun. Charles, forced to stand there by honor, had to stand there while Andy J. Sox steadied his weapon and shot Charles in the stomach. Charles died later that night from his injuries. Now, if you think that's the worst of it, it so isn't. A few years later, when Andy J. was elected president, he passed the Indian Removal Act of 1830, which more or less stole a lot of land from the Native Americans and forced them on what we now call the Trail of Tears, where they all pretty much had to get up and move out west. This Trail of Tears led to anywhere between 2,000 and 8,000 Native Americans dying from the journey alone. Now, you'd probably assume that a president of this low caliber would be swept under the rug and a president we no longer talk about or think about. But you'd be so wrong. Guys, he's on our $20 bill. You see him every day. Now, I know Donald Trump does not have the best track record when it comes to women. I mean, he said some crazy misogynistic stuff. For instance,
grab him by the pussy.
But at least he didn't rape somebody. Let's go, Groves. We got to talk about this. All right, so Grover Cleveland. In 1873, Grover Cleveland was a little bit obsessed with someone named Maria Halpin. Now, after months of pursuing her and trying to get up in them bloomers, she finally agreed to go on a date with him. And then after that date, Grover Cleveland decided to do the gentlemanly thing and walk her back to her place, and then do the very ungentlemanly thing and rape her. Now, she decided that she would never talk to him again, and you probably think that's the worst of it, but it's not. It's not the worst of it, guys. After about 6 weeks of silence, Maria realized she was pregnant, and after the child was born, Grover Cleve's daddy sent a judge and 2 detectives to convince her to sign over her parental rights and have the child sent to an orphanage. And then, of course, she had to move away. Shortly after moving, Maria decided that she couldn't live without her son, so she went back to the orphanage and kidnapped her son back into her care. Now, hearing about this, GC and the boys hunted her down, grabbed the son from her, threw him back in the orphanage, and then had Maria committed to an insane asylum. And then he was elected president, guys. Guys, he's on the $1,000 bill. Why do we put crazy people on our money? So Donald Trump, crazy? Yes. Insane? Yes. Probably a racist? Yes. But at this rate, he's going to end up on like the $6 bill or some shit. I'll see you guys later. Oh my God, I can't believe we elected this guy president.